Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise, get straight to the insights that matter. And today, we are taking a really deep dive into a book that, well, it shaped a lot of thinking. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Now, you've probably heard of it. Maybe you've even read it.
Yeah.
But what we want to do today is really pull apart why this book, even decades later, feels more relevant than ever. You know, in our really complex, demanding world, we're trying to look beyond just the surface summaries, uncover the insights that really make it tick.
Absolutely. It's a book that's touched millions, from top CEOs right down to parents just trying to navigate everyday life. So our mission today really is to distill its essence. We want to focus on the nuances, the practical stuff that helps you cut through all the information overload and, apply this timeless wisdom to the real challenges you face. Career, relationships, personal growth. It's all connected. It really aims at building that culture of trust, that contributive spirit, unleashing potential.
Yeah, and for this deep dive, we're drawing directly from the book. Excerpts, forewords, key sections. So we get a direct line to Covey's ideas and also the experiences people he influenced. We're here to understand not just what the habits are, but why they have lasted and how they apply to your life right now. Okay, let's unpack this thing. So before we even get to the habits, Covey kicks off with something really crucial, I think. This distinction between the character ethic and the personality ethic. We've all seen advice from both sides, but what's really at the core of this difference?
Well, the book suggests that a lot of the success literature, maybe over the past 50 years or so, has really focused on what he calls the personality ethic. Think quick fixes, social band-aids, stuff focused on outward attitudes, techniques like smiling wins more friends or using the power look, superficial things.
Right, the surface level stuff.
Exactly. But the character ethic, which Covey really champions, is, well, it's foundational. It's deeper. It's about things like integrity, humility, courage, sticking to universal principles. It's about changing from the inside out, not just, manipulating how you appear on the outside or trying to game human interaction.
It's like being trustworthy versus just seeming trustworthy.
Precisely. That's a great way to put it.
And this, for me, is where it gets really interesting because it leads straight into his idea of paradigms. He calls them maps in our heads, these unconscious ways we see and interpret everything. Such a simple idea, but wow, it's profound.
It is. And Covey uses that brilliant analogy, trying to navigate Chicago with a map of Detroit. You could be super diligent, have the best attitude, work really hard.
Yeah.
But if your map, your fundamental understanding is wrong,
You're just getting lost faster.
Exactly. All that effort is wasted, or worse, counterproductive. And that drawing, the old woman, young woman picture, it shows this perfectly. 2 people, both sincere, both looking carefully, can see completely different things in the exact same image.
Because their underlying maps, their conditioning, it's different.
Right, and it just hammers home how powerfully our paradigms affect literally every single interaction we have.
So the big insight there is we see the world not as it is, but as we are. And the implication is huge. When someone disagrees, our first thought is often, what's wrong with them?
Yeah, when really we might just be describing our own perception, our own map.
So how do we change these maps, these paradigms?
Well, that's the challenge. The idea of a paradigm shift, that aha moment where you suddenly see things differently, it's powerful. It's a real break from old thinking. But it's not usually something you just decide to do. It often takes a real challenge to your assumptions. It's more than just new info. It's a whole new way of processing it.
Okay, so if these paradigms are so fundamental, how do we even start to change them? Especially if they're so ingrained. This is where habit 1 comes in, right? Be proactive.
Exactly. This is the starting point. Habit 1 is all about taking absolute responsibility for our own lives. It means understanding our behavior is a function of our decisions, not just our conditions or circumstances. We have that unique human ability between stimulus and response to actually choose our response, not just react like an animal.
And the story he uses for this, Viktor Frankl.
Yeah.
It's incredibly powerful.
It really is. Frankl, a psychiatrist, a Jew in the Nazi death camps, unimaginable suffering, lost his entire family. Yet even there, he discovered what he called the last of the human freedoms.
The freedom to choose his response.
Yes, to choose how all of that horror would affect him internally. The Nazis could control his environment, his body even, but not his fundamental inner self, his choice of response.
That's profound. But for us, not in death camps, but stuck in traffic or dealing with a difficult colleague, how does that translate? What's the everyday version?
It means recognizing our responsibility.
Yeah.
Literally, our ability to choose our response. Proactive people, Covey says, focus their energy on their circle of influence. What can I actually do something about?
Right.
Instead of getting sucked into the circle of concern. All the stuff out there you worry about but can't actually control, like that traffic jam.
You can't control the traffic,
Yeah.
but you can control whether you spend that time fuming or, I don't know, listening to something useful.
Precisely. Or take the example from the book about the husband who says the love for his wife is gone.
Yeah, and Covey just says, love her.
Which sounds maybe a bit blunt, but the point is deep. Love isn't just a feeling that happens to you. Love is a verb. It's an action. The feelings often are the result of the action. By choosing to act lovingly, consistently, you can actually generate or rekindle the feeling itself.
It challenges that passive view we often have of emotions.
Completely.
And that ties right back to the idea that it's not what happens to us, but our response to what happens to us that hurts us.
Difficult times can actually build character. They forge character, exactly.
Okay, so we grasp proactivity, that freedom to choose. But how do we make sure our choices are leading somewhere worthwhile? That seems to be habit 2. Begin with the end in mind.
Yes. This one asks us to start with a really clear understanding of our destination. Where are we actually trying to go? And that exercise, he suggests, visualizing your own funeral. It sounds morbid, maybe,
A little jarring, yeah.
but it's incredibly effective. It forces you to clarify your deepest values. What do you really want people to say about you? What contribution matters most? What defines a successful life for you?
It cuts through the noise.
It does. And it leads to this principle that all things are created twice. First, there's a mental creation, a blueprint. Then there's the physical, or second, creation.
Like building a house, you design it completely on paper first.
Exactly. That's the first creation. Hammering the nails is the second.
So the implication is we're either the second creation of our own conscious, proactive design.
Or we're the second creation of other people's agendas, or just circumstances, or maybe old habits we never even examined.
We just sort of drift into it.
Right. And this is where Covey brings in leadership versus management. Leadership, he says, is that crucial first creation, deciding what's important, what the destination should be, which jungle are we in. Management, which is more habit 3, is the second creation. It's about efficiency, climbing the ladder well, cutting through the jungle effectively.
But first, you need the leader to make sure you're in the right jungle.
Precisely. That analogy is just perfect, isn't it? The managers are down there sharpening machetes, organizing schedules, super efficient.
While the leader climbs the tallest tree, looks around and yells.
Wrong jungle. You need both, but leadership comes first. Vision precedes execution.
It's making sure your ladder of success isn't just propped up efficiently, but leaning against the right wall.
Exactly. And this often requires what Covey calls rescripting.
Changing the internal narrative.
Yeah, consciously changing those ineffective scripts or paradigms, maybe handed down from family or society, that are holding you back. He uses Anwar Sadat as an example, overcoming deeply ingrained hatred through incredible self-awareness and imagination to pursue peace. That's rescripting on a massive scale.
Okay, so you have the vision, the end in mind, habit 2. Now, habit 3, put first things first, seems to be about the how, the personal management piece.
That's right. This is where the rubber meets the road in terms of daily action. And the core idea here is prioritizing based on importance, not just urgency. It introduces the famous time management matrix, focusing specifically on quadrant 2.
The important but not urgent stuff.
Exactly. Things like relationship building, long-term planning, exercise, learning, prevention. The things that are crucial for long-term effectiveness but rarely scream for immediate attention.
And if you neglect quadrant 2,
You end up living in quadrant I crisis mode, putting out fires, dealing with things that became urgent because you didn't proactively address them when they were just important.
makes sense. He also talks about PPC balance here, right? The goose and the golden egg.
Yes, a fundamental principle. P is production, the golden eggs, the results you want. PC is production capabilities, the health and well-being of the goose, the asset that produces the results.
You can't just focus on the eggs and forget to feed the goose.
Right. You might get more eggs in the short term by, say, forcing the goose, but eventually you kill the asset.
And this applies everywhere. Physical assets like lawnmower, financial assets, but also human assets like relationships, employees, even your own health.
Absolutely. You can push yourself or others for short-term results, neglect maintenance or rest or relationship building, but it's completely unsustainable. The PC diminishes.
So how do we manage this better, especially when working with others?
This is where stewardship delegation comes in. It's a very different approach than what he calls gopher delegation.
Will for delegation is just telling someone exactly what to do and how, like running an errand.
Pretty much. Micromanaging the method. Stewardship delegation, though, focuses on the results. You clarify the desired outcome, set guidelines, identify resources, define accountability, and specify consequences. But you give the person the freedom and responsibility to figure out the how.
The example of the father delegating the yard work to his son.
Perfect illustration. The desired result was green and clean. The son was accountable for that outcome, but he got to choose the methods, manage himself.
It builds capability, not just compliance.
Exactly. It fosters self-reliance, trust, initiative. It's letting people boss themselves.
It definitely takes more time up front, doesn't it? That initial clarification and trust building.
Oh, much more time up front. But the long-term dividends in terms of building capable, motivated people and freeing up your own time are enormous.
Okay, so habits 1, 2, and 3 are the private victories. Moving from dependence to independence, mastering yourself. But life isn't solo. Now we shift to the public victories, interdependence, working effectively with others. How do we make that leap?
Well, the reality is, most important achievements require cooperation. Life is highly interdependent. Trying to achieve maximum effectiveness purely on your own is, as Covey puts it, like trying to play tennis with a golf club. The tool doesn't fit the reality.
So what's the foundation for effective interdependence?
The core metaphor here, and it's such a powerful one, is the emotional bank account.
Oh, yes, I remember this. Like a financial bank account, but for relationships.
Exactly. You make deposits through things like courtesy, kindness, honesty, keeping your promises, understanding the other person.
And withdrawals.
Discourtesy, disrespect, interrupting, breaking commitments, betrayal, anything that erodes trust.
And a high balance means communication is easy, trust is high.
Right. You can make mistakes, and there's enough goodwill, enough trust that communication remains open. Misunderstandings are cleared up easily.
But a low balance or an overdrawn account.
That's when you're walking on minefields, as he says.
Mm.
Tension is high, communication is strained, defensive. It becomes memo haven people communicating formally because trust is gone.
Sadly common in workplaces, families.
Very common. And Covey highlights 6 major ways to make deposits.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, understanding the individual, really seeking to know what matters to the other person. Like the dad listening intently to his son talk about baseball, even if he wasn't interested himself.
Showing you care about their world.
Yes. Second, attending to the little things. Because, as he says, in relationships, the little things are the big things. Small kindnesses, courtesies. Third, keeping commitments. This is huge for building trust. Breaking promises is a massive withdrawal.
Makes sense.
Fourth, clarifying expectations. So much conflict comes from unspoken, differing assumptions about roles or goals. Fifth, showing personal integrity. This includes loyalty to those not present, not gossiping or bad-mouthing, being consistent.
Living your values.
Right. And sixth, apologizing sincerely when you make a withdrawal. Not a fake apology, but a genuine acknowledgement of the mistake and the hurt caused, like that powerful story of the father whose son kept saying, "I won't forgive you," because past apologies hadn't been backed by change. It took deep humility.
That really underscores the sincerity needed.
And underpinning all this, especially in close relationships, is the idea of unconditional love.
Meaning loving someone regardless of their behavior.
Not necessarily condoning bad behavior, but separating the person's worth from their actions. Loving them without strings attached. When love is conditional, I'll love you if you. It often fosters insecurity, rebellion, or people-pleasing.
Whereas unconditional love empowers them.
Yes, it gives them the security to grow, to live according to good principles like cooperation, contribution, self-discipline, because they're not constantly trying to earn love or approval. The dean who finally let go of his expectations for his son's college choice and just offered love and support, that freed the son.
A powerful shift. Okay, so building on that trust, that emotional bank account, we get to habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. This sounds so simple, but it's maybe one of the hardest.
Oh, incredibly hard because, as Covey points out, most of us don't listen with the intent to understand.
We listen with the intent to reply.
Exactly. We're formulating our response, judging, advising, Probing from our own frame of reference while the other person is still talking.
We filter everything through our own map.
Right. Habit 5 is about the opposite. Empathic listening. Listening with the sole intent to truly understand the other person's perspective, their thoughts, their feelings, their paradigm, getting inside their world.
He uses that analogy of the optometrist, right?
Yeah, it's brilliant. Imagine going to an eye doctor who, without even examining your eyes, just takes off his glasses and says, "Here, try these. They work great for me."
It's absurd.
But that's often what we do in communication. We prescribe our solutions based on our own experience before we've even diagnosed the other person's actual problem or perspective.
And the example of the father and son talking about school, that felt very real.
Didn't it? The son expresses frustration, maybe just needs to vent, and the dad immediately jumps in with advice, evaluation, probing,
Trying to fix it from his point of view.
totally missing the son's underlying feelings and intentions. He's reading his own autobiography into his son's life.
So empathic listening, how does that actually work?
It involves really focusing on the other person, reflecting back not just the words, the content, but also the feeling you're sensing. Things like, "So it sounds like you're feeling really frustrated about this situation at school."
Not judging, just reflecting understanding.
Right. It gives the other person psychological air. They feel heard, understood, safe. And then they often open up more, get to the deeper issues.
And only after they feel understood.
Then you can effectively seek to be understood yourself. You've earned the right. You've built the trust. And you present your views logically, emotionally, credibly.
Okay, so understanding leads to better communication. And when we have that high trust, that deep understanding, that opens the door to habit 6. Synergize. What's the essence of synergy?
Synergy is often summarized as the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. But it's more dynamic than that. It's about valuing the differences between people, seeing different perspectives not as threats, but as opportunities. And through that respect for differences, you can collaborate to create something new, something better than any one person could have come up with alone. A third alternative.
So it's not just compromise, where everyone gives something up.
No, compromise is often 1 + 1 = 1.5. Everyone loses something. Synergy is 1 + 1 = 3 or 8 or 16. It's creative cooperation.
And this connects back to the mindset, right? Scarcity versus abundance.
Absolutely. Synergy is almost impossible with the scarcity mentality. The belief that there's only so much pie, so if you get a bigger piece, I get less. Win-lose thinking.
Which is everywhere.
It is. Synergy flows from an abundance mentality, the belief that there's plenty out there for everybody, and that by working together, we can actually create more pie. Win-win thinking.
The family vacation example illustrates this well, I thought. Dad wants fishing, mom wants to visit her sick mother.
Right. Without synergy, they might compromise maybe a short trip, doing a bit of both, nobody really happy, or one wins, one loses.
But with synergy, high trust, win-win attitude.
They can genuinely explore creative third alternatives. Maybe they find a location near the mother that also has great fishing, or structure the time differently. They create a solution that works better for both of them.
The key seems to be genuinely valuing the differences.
That's crucial. Covey says insecure people feel threatened by differences and try to clone others, make everyone agree.
Sameness feels safer.
But sameness is uncreative and boring. The real strength, the potential for breakthrough, lies in bringing different perspectives together respectfully. He mentions David Lilienthal assembling the Atomic Energy Commission, highly diverse, strong personalities who often disagreed fiercely.
But they achieved synergy.
Yes, because they cultivated mutual respect and valued the differing viewpoints. They aimed for non-protective interaction.
That's a great phrase. And synergy isn't just between people.
No, he talks about intrapersonal synergy too, integrating the logical left brain with the creative, intuitive right brain within ourselves, bringing our whole selves to challenges.
Developing all our capacities. Okay, that leads us nicely to the final habit, habit 7. Sharpen the saw. This feels like the one that keeps everything else going.
It really is. It's the habit of self-renewal. And that story he tells. The woodcutter frantically sawing a tree for hours, getting exhausted, saw getting dull.
And when someone suggests stopping to sharpen the saw, he says,
"I don't have time, I'm too busy sawing."
we all do that, don't we? Get so caught up in the doing, we neglect the being, the tool itself.
Exactly. Sharpen the saw is about taking time for balanced self-renewal across 4 key dimensions of our nature: physical, spiritual, mental, and social-emotional.
And it's a quadrant 2 activity, right? Important, but usually not urgent.
The ultimate quadrant 2 activity. critically important for long-term effectiveness, but easily pushed aside by the tyranny of the urgent. We have to be proactive about it.
Okay, let's break down those 4 dimensions a bit.
Physical.
Caring for your physical body, nutrition, rest, exercise. But Covey emphasizes it's not about some extreme no pain, no gain thing, but about consistent, wise renewal. That lovely little story about the doctor prescribing Gordon a day at the beach just to listen carefully, reach back, examine motives. It shows that physical renewal is often linked to deeper well-being.
Right. It's holistic. What about spiritual?
This is about connecting with your core, your center, your value system. It could be through meditation, prayer, scripture studies, spending time in nature, listening to inspiring music, whatever helps you clarify your purpose and recommit to your deepest values. It's about calibrating that inner compass.
Okay. And mental renewal.
Continuous learning, expanding your mind, reading is key here. Covey famously advocated reading broadly, engaging with great minds, aiming for a book a month, maybe even a week.
Challenging your thinking. Yes, and avoiding things that dull the mind, like excessive, passive TV watching, keeping your mind sharp, curious, growing.
And finally, social emotional.
This dimension is renewed through our relationships, making consistent deposits in those emotional bank accounts, seeking to understand others, affirming them, showing unconditional love, practicing synergy, especially with those closest to us.
The Dulcinea story from Don Quixote fits here.
Beautifully. Quixote constantly affirming the unseen virtue and potential in Aldonza, scripting her for good, seeing her not just as she was, but as she could be. That's a powerful way to uplift others.
So this daily private victory, as he calls it, maybe an hour a day, dedicated to renewal across these 4 areas.
That's presented as the absolute key. It's what integrates all the other habits. It fuels everything else. It's your personal PC, your production capability, your intrinsic security.
Wow. So when you pull it all together, what we've really unpacked today isn't just, a list of 7 tips. It's a whole philosophy, isn't it? A framework for moving from dependence through independence to true, effective interdependence.
It really is. It's fundamentally an inside-out approach. Change starts with you, your character, your paradigms, your choices guided by timeless principles.
And it's not like you just achieve the habits and you're done.
Not at all. Covey himself said it's a continuous upward spiral of growth. Learning, committing, doing, learning more. You never truly master them perfectly. You just keep growing, becoming more aware of the principles and how far you still have to go. And that leads to what he beautifully called living life in crescendo.
Crescendo, meaning?
The idea that your most important work, your greatest contributions, are always ahead of you, never behind you. It counters that feeling some people get that their best years are over. It fosters hope and purpose.
That's a powerful thought. So the ultimate takeaway from this deep dive seems to be that real effectiveness, and maybe even happiness, comes from aligning our lives with these deep universal principles. Choosing our response, having a clear vision, putting first things first, building trust, understanding others, valuing differences, and constantly renewing ourselves.
Exactly. Which maybe raises a good question for everyone listening to consider this week. Just think, what's one area in your life right now, maybe a challenging relationship, a project, a personal goal, where applying just one of these habits more consciously could make a difference? Perhaps it's pausing before reacting in frustration. Habit 1. Or maybe spending just 5 minutes really trying to see things from someone else's perspective before jumping in. Habit 5. How might that single intentional shift start to, redraw your own map a little bit and maybe unlock some new possibilities?